We did it, besties. We made it to December, which officially means it's holiday season. And I feel like holidays are a perplexing, complex time for a lot of people. I was just talking about my story today where it feels like there is so much expectation around the holidays and so much pressure to have this experience that looks and feels like something. And oftentimes, at least in my experience, the holidays never quite reach that level of high expectation. I, many a times, ended up crying on Christmas. Many times in my history of life, I've cried on Christmas. And my children actually have cried on Christmas. And it's always like such a curious thing that you can do so much and have so much thought put into various experiences for people. And, you know, children, they're already in the midst of becoming in a way that is very challenging. God, kids. I love kids. Kids are great. But I never thought when I became a parent that I would ever have kids crying on Christmas. I never thought that the wonder and glee and magic of the holidays would result in children experiencing meltdowns. And that is the realistic, I think, experience of Christmas, because holiday time is a lot for kids and they get overstimulated and all the things, right? And I think that I really entered mothering with this idea that if I was magical in the most perfect way ever, my children would never have experiences where they were upset, especially around holidays that I put so much effort into making magical. And I feel like the conversation should be had. It should be had that there is just not these perfect like expectations of things that we've even been taught by media, movies, and even seeing social media online that we're guaranteed to happen. And it's interesting now having older children and entering the holidays now with one adult child and another one that is 16 now. I have asked them about their experience of the holidays, of the things that they remember most about growing up and the things that really meant a lot to them. And I was shocked by their answers because I really thought it was going to be, you know, those moments where I got them exactly what they had asked for. Like I moved mountains to go and get them the gift of the season. Even in times where we didn't have a lot of money to spend on Christmas, like my husband and I, oh, that man is amazing. We Facebook market and we were creative Christmas elves to try and make the Christmases for our children the most magical that they could be. And when I asked my children, like, what were the moments that they remember from childhood that meant the most, my daughter says that her favorite moment was when I got her a keychain. I got her a keychain that she had seen at the store and she just like fell in love with this keychain. It was a locket keychain. And so like I snuck it in the basket and checked out without her noticing. And I think it was like the night before Christmas Eve, I put her brother to bed and then I snuggled in with her and I was like, hey, do you want to open a present? And she was like, yes, of course. So she opened that gift and then her and I had this beautiful moment together where she just was like shocked and amazed that I got this for her. And it was like $4, I think. And that was the gift that she remembered the most because it was a moment that her and I shared, and then we snuggled and watched a Christmas movie. And it just is such a reminder that like sometimes in the chaos of like everything going on, of expectations and this pressure from online, especially as mothers, to create these enormous experiences for our children, like the best ones are more than likely going to be like those small magical moments. My son's favorite moments growing up was our tradition of decorating the Christmas tree and then making Christmas cookies that day. And I was that parent that decided I was only going to do what I could do, but what I could do, I was going to make it the best it could be. And a lot of their childhood, I was a single parent. And so being a single mom meant that I really had to work hard to make sure that not only I was okay, because it's a lot to be a single parent, but also work hard to make sure that I kept the magic, what really the magic is. But I feel like now being an adult and processing even more like my childhood and seeing where my kids are now, there's a lot. There's a lot to holidays, and I won't get too deep into it, but you know, I chat about this a lot with my therapist of just like there is so many complex layers of family and, you know, your past expectations and your current expectations and, you know, radically accepting things in your life that maybe aren't exactly the way that you would want them to be. And I was telling my husband last night that, you know, having a grown child and having kids that are grown up now and they're going off and doing their own thing and they want to spend time with their friends, I told him that my focus now is going to be on creating magic with the people that are most important to my kid at the time. Like if I can't get them both over here at the same time and on the same schedule, I'm going to still have magic and the wonder and the beauty of spending time together with the people that matter to them most. And it is such a shift of how it used to be when my kids were younger, because they're here and they're together and they're each other's siblings, so they're around all the time. And my kids were never each other's best friend, which I think is totally okay. They're different kids, but they always loved each other and enjoyed doing things together and wanted to do those magical things together. But now that they're a little bit older, like they have people in their life that are their person, whether it be like someone they're dating or, you know, just their best friend or whoever it is. So that is the magic that I'm working now. And I feel like it's just like a different kind of fairy godmother of Christmas that I'm learning to step into. And all that to say that no matter what season of holiday that you're in, number one, know that you're not alone if you're having complex emotions or feelings around family dynamics. Like I feel like it's hard for people to share about that kind of stuff online because it is personal and there are like a lot of details that you maybe don't want everybody to know. But I feel like it felt harmful at times for me to feel like, gosh, like nobody has complex family dynamics. Like it's just, I felt very alone in that. So if you have that, you're not alone. And also like if you have, you know, different sore spots around the holidays, like also not alone. Like I told you, like I definitely cried around Christmas, on Christmas, you know, just processing things that come up. And I feel like as I've gotten older, like there's even more things and I'm like, I'm done with the things. Like I need to be done with the things. I have done so much personal work and I've learned that this journey of like humaning, this journey of being a human is not so like straight as everybody wants it to be. Like it feels better to us to think, great, we've had complex relationship with families or Christmas or holidays or Thanksgivings or whatever it is, complex, you know, situations with different people in our lives. And all we have to do is do a little work and then it will be done. And I have learned that it's not that way at all. And I'm upset about that. Like, I wish that it was so much nicer. Like, you've seen that meme where it's like, you know, success is like, oh, little guy here, and we think it's like he's just walking over here, but really it's like he is going all around, and like he's like the little kid from Family Circus going to all these, do you remember that comic, going to all these different places? That's what I feel like growing and healing has become. And I kind of wish I would have known that. I kind of wish, like, when I started therapy, I would have had a better understanding of, like, hey, Jules, so you're thinking that when you start this, you're just going to, like, address some things, and then you're going to get a cute little bow on top of, like, the pretty package of, you got this, gold star, you did it. And it's not that at all. And it took a while. My therapist is finally like, hey, so it's kind of like Swiss cheese, like a piece of Swiss cheese. There's going to be like different holes that you find along the way, and you can deal with those. And then, oh, it might come up again later. And some of the stuff that you're feeling and dealing with might be something that you feel and deal with forever. And I'm like, actually, I don't want that. No, I would like to unsubscribe. Wherever the unsubscribe button is, I just feel like the things that I'm dealing with, I didn't get a clear understanding when I was sold this package. You know, like when you accidentally subscribe to something and you don't realize it till like months and months later, the cost. And I just feel like the stuff I've been through, the cost has been higher than what I anticipated. But I have learned that I don't want to go into emotional debt anymore. I don't know about you. No more emotional credit cards for me, okay? If I find somebody, or if I meet someone, or if I'm in a situation with somebody where I feel like they're asking me to sign up for an emotional credit card, I don't care what your interest rate is, okay? Because I don't want you to catfish me into being inside of a dynamic where I am suffering. Okay? Like, unsubscribe. I'm not, no emotional credit card debt for me anymore. I have so many. Oh my God, you should see my emotional debt credit score. It's better because I'm in therapy. It's just that at the time that I met people that were asking me to subscribe to their crazy, I said yes because it sounded so good. Have you ever done that? Have you ever met somebody that, like, you didn't know? You didn't know. If you had known, like, think about that person that just popped in your mind. And I want you to think about if you had known. Think about the different path that you would have taken, okay? I have so many of those people, and my emotional debt of these people is, oh my God, I don't even feel like it could be qualified as Swiss cheese at this point. It's just scraps. It's just shreds of cheese that I'm desperately trying to, like, piece together to be a piece. And I take that little scraps to my therapist, like, it was Swiss cheese, but it's just like shreds of cheese. It has been a lot. I'm crying. I'm laughing at myself. It has been so much. And you know what's wild is, like, the experiences that I've had with these different people, like, they show up at the beginning like they're amazing. And that's why you buy from them, right? Like, that's why you get the emotional debt credit card from these super villains, because they show up with a smile, right? And if you know me in real life, you might know that I have a little bit of an obsession with catfish. Not the actual fish. Not the actual fish. Hold on. Let's rewind. The people in life, like, that pretend to be someone that they're not. You know, catfish, like catfishing. You've heard that, like, online. The people in life that pretend to be someone that they're not. I'm not obsessed with the fish, catfish. Okay, do not send me fish. I don't want the actual fish. Catfish, like, when somebody pretends to be somebody else, like, I am a true crime girly, and I am, like, obsessed with, like, the Elizabeth Holmes story where, like, she pretends to be, like, this incredible entrepreneur that is making this product, but in actuality, like, she was lying to everybody. And I think my obsession with catfish people, do not spam anything with fish, okay? Y'all are gonna do it. I know you are. Catfish people. Is because I have had this experience so many times. Like, I feel like I have had this experience more than the average person. And I'm not just saying that. Like, my therapist is also like, what has happened to you? And there was a point in my therapy where she's like, okay, so we are not going to focus on making any more friends. You need time to heal from these people. Like, you need to, like, I cannot even tell you the groups of people who showed up and pretended like they were these amazing people. But what was going on behind the scenes? Oh my God. Oh my God. And it was happening at places like my wedding. Yeah, at my wedding. And I found out pretty quick, not actually on my wedding day, so they were, nice enough to not let me know that day. But imagine. So yeah, I've had these experiences with people on catfish, and I'm obsessed with learning about the true crime people like Tinder swindler and these other con artists, because I think there's a little detective Julie inside of me that is like, what happened to me? And I've got my little, like, notebook, and I'm like, okay, so if I study these people enough, then I will prevent this from happening again. And what I've learned from my journey of myself, and I'm doing so much work on, like, just wanting to be around people again. Like, when you have been harmed on emotional levels that are hard to describe without telling details, it's very hard to trust people again. Like, oh my God, like, I was struggling so much. I was watching everybody online, like, have these incredible friendships with people and have these amazing experiences with people. And I was over here just, like, devastated by life and my experience with friendships. And my therapist is like, that's not gonna be your focus right now. We need to make sure, like, you're back together again. My little Humpty Dumpty self that got yeeted off the wall of trust because these people harm me so bad. But I feel like, learning about what steps that people take that position them to be able to, like, take advantage of somebody, that has helped me, like, Or maybe it's just the pretend. I pretend it's helped me to protect myself from people that are doing that. And it honestly, like, these experiences, I wish that I could say that it has made me more understanding. I think it's made me a little suspicious. I think it's so. I think younger version of me was just like, oh my god, everybody is amazing. I love everybody, and everybody is exactly who they say that they are. And now that I've been through multiple times in life, being stabbed in the back, I now look at people with a little side eye at first. I'm like, I don't know about you. We'll see. And I love the quote that says, I think it was Maya Angelou. I believe that's her that who said this, but she said, when people show you who they are, believe them. And that has, oh my gosh, that's been such a nice lifeline to remember that, like, when I find out these pieces of people that are good, bad, and ugly, that I'm going to accept what they've taught me about themselves, and I'm going to accept that this is who they are. And I think that that's made it a little bit of a struggle to how do you learn if somebody has changed without being in their orbit to disrupt your peace? And that is a piece of the puzzle I don't think I quite have yet. Like, how do you assess if somebody has made changes in their life? And I have landed in my experience that I have not seen a lot of people radically change. I don't know if you have. I haven't seen a lot of people go away, do work, come back, and be a completely different person. I know that that is a lot of people's experiences, but for me, I don't know what it is. Like, and I've asked, like, my therapist, and I've done a lot of self-reflection of, like, why do people like this keep coming into my life? And some of that is my responsibility, and that doesn't feel good. I don't like that. That's not fun. Some of that's me. What? That can't be right. But yeah, taking personal responsibility and taking that time to do self-reflection and realizing, oh, there's parts of me that were okay with being treated a certain way that was less than what I want to be treated. And it's interesting, like, finding that in different friendships. But when I was looking for a partner and started dating, dating as a single mom was definitely a challenge because I wanted to make sure that my kids were protected above everything else. I had so many rules and boundaries to make sure that my kids were not involved in any dating aspect of my life until I was sure that the person that I was seeing was a serious relationship. And so when I started dating my now husband, I let him know upfront boundaries of things that were yeses and nos, and also boundaries of things that were yeses and nos and how I wanted to be treated as a partner. And I'll never forget his face when he asked me to be his girlfriend, because I didn't even know if he liked me. We had gone on a couple different dates and I definitely had a huge crush on him, but I didn't know if he liked me because he was the personality and the person that was like, I'm not going to treat you like a girlfriend until you are my girlfriend. So we had the conversation of, like, where is this going kind of thing. And he asked me to be his girlfriend. I didn't even know that he liked me, but he had, like, said up front, like, hey, like, this is what I think of you, and I really want to know, like, take your time, but, like, think about it. Do you want to date? And I, like said yes immediately, which shocked him, but I was like, yes, absolutely. But I told him, I said, before we start this, I need to let you know a few things. Number one, my kids will not be involved in our relationship at all. They will not know that we're dating. They will not be a part of this. And he had known my children from going to the same church that we were at. So my kids knew him, and he was really involved in the kids' church. So they were very familiar with him. And he also was a teacher. So I knew he was good with kids, but I did not want my kids to know that we were dating. And then the other thing I told him, which is, like, so perplexing that I was able to do this inside of a romantic relationship, but I struggle more inside of, like, friendships or family dynamics. I let him know exactly what I was expecting in terms of treatment. And this is, again, like, this is where self-work comes in, is, like, you are not going to be able to show up perfect to every single situation, but the journey is the journey, and the journey is growth, right? Like, so the journey for me now is, like, why was I able to do this with him and my connection with him, but I struggled, not as much now, but oh my God, so much more in friendships that I had before. So my husband and I have been together for a long time. Like, it'll be our 10-year anniversary this year in September 2025. But in any case, I told him I knew how I wanted to be treated in a dating relationship. I told him, I know I need to be romanced. I know I need surprises. I know I need dates. I know that I want to have somebody that's going to be really thoughtful about my experience of different things, whether it's a random flowers on a day or whatever it is. And I told him, like, this is exactly what I know that I want and I need. And then I told him, if you're not willing to do that, that's okay. If you're not willing to step up to the plate of what I need in a relationship, that is totally okay. Like, we don't have to go forward. Like, I respect that. I respect that maybe that's not your thing. And I respect that maybe you don't want to take that on. But for me, I know that's what I need. And I wasn't like thinking about it in terms of like, oh, I have to have elaborate cost. But I was thinking about it like, I know that I want to be with a partner that thinks about me and that thinks about little things that would make me happy or little things that would make me feel loved. And I had learned that about myself from my past and my past relationships of what had made me unhappy. And so I could reflect on my unhappiness in those relationships and then taking a lot of time to heal and grow in myself and then showing up to my relationship with my husband, the beginning of it, I knew exactly what I wanted. And I did not know this till later, but he did not have any experience doing what I said that I needed. He did not have any experience at all. But when he heard me give him a challenge, he was like, bet. And when I tell you, he really said bet, I woke up every morning to a text message. That's how he started. The next day was started with a text message. Every morning with a text message about what he thought of me, how he saw me, like how grateful he was to even like be day one. He's like, I cannot believe that I get to be with you, like day one. And I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, he has continuously stepped up to the plate in that challenge, and he had to learn, like he definitely had to learn like who I was and who I am. And it goes back to like holidays. This goes back to the holiday like thing that we were talking about at the beginning. People have expectations of things from media. And I wish I would have known this more or like sat in this longer in my younger years of like, when you are dating somebody and you want romance, you are informed by romance you see on shows and movies where the guy gets it on the first try. Like, of course he's going to get the main character her favorite flower and it's going to be amazing and magical because that's what they want you to feel. But like, in real life, your partner has to learn what you like and the, you know, the nuances of that. And that's the beautiful part of what love is that you have learned over time each other. And that's what I think that's part of the magic of a relationship, is that you have had experiences over time where you have learned details about each other, and those details inform how you connect in your relationship. And so at the beginning, he was doing so many amazing things that were like so sweet and wonderful, and he had to adjust them and learn. And as he got to know me as a person, and I just think that that's really special. And yeah, he's amazing. He's been so sweet. But it is interesting how like sometimes in different dynamics with people, like it's a lot easier to give boundaries or to give expectations. And then because of other things that we've gone through in our life, it's a lot harder because sometimes we don't know that the person standing before us is asking us to go into emotional debt. And sometimes we're in a lot of emotional debt before we realize, warning, Will Robinson, this is no good. This is no good, McGee. We need to rewind this. We need to close the account, set up some boundaries, and never go back to that store ever again. And sometimes that process is heartbreaking. Media has informed me being a dramatic girly. I grew up watching Disney films where the girlies were always dramatically throwing themselves on the bed and crying. And though I, in my past, have not identified as a crier, there have been many a times where these relationships of friendships have broken my heart to the point of dramatically sprawling out and sobbing my eyes out. Like it dumbfounds me how some of these people can look at somebody who is a sweet little cotton candy of a person, which is how I identified before. I feel like I'm a little bit more in my villain era, but that's probably just because like now I'm saying no and setting boundaries, and that feels like, oh my god, like am I a villain now? Is this me being a villain? No, you're just doing boundaries. That doesn't make you a villain, okay? But I can't imagine looking at somebody like that and harming them in the way some of these people have. I cannot even imagine somebody calling me crying because they have been like their heart has been broken over another relationship. And being the person on the other end of the phone, just being like, yeah, man, I don't know why that happened to you. That's so sad. And then that person ends up being the one who actually caused it. Like, I just can't imagine being that kind of person. And I would have never thought when I was deeply close with some of these people that have harmed me this way that they would ever do that. And I'm like, God, it feels like it's always like the nice ones, right? It's always the nice, like kind, empathetic people that get taken advantage of. And then I'm around sometimes these other people that are, their energy is a little bit harder and their energy is a little bit more like, you know, back off. And I feel like, is that what happens when you just have gone through life so much where you just have gotten kicked in the face one too many times? You're finally like, all right, guys, I'm out. Like, I'm done. I'm desperately holding on to my softness and my sweetness and kindness will always be my guide. But I feel like there's a little bit of a grumpier side coming out of me these days because I'm just like, I don't understand people sometimes, like, it is perplexing to me. I sit and wonder many times what is happening. So all that to say, if this holiday season is a struggle for you, it's okay. It's okay. Take time, take breaks, do what you need to do to create magic for yourself, and go slow. And you know what? If you're not in a season right now where you are going to have a million friends around you, that's okay. I feel like being someone that's an introvert, I used to always look at photos online. And when I say photos online, partly because I was a graphic designer for photographers. And so I was literally looking at hundreds of people's photos every week and going through them to put on the website. And I would often stumble across these brides that had like 12 different women in their bridal party. And I'm like, God, what is wrong with me? Like, I don't have 12 friends. Like, how do you have 12 girlies? And like, they would show like all these girls' nights and all this stuff. And then it took kind of going through what I went through. And, you know, some of those women that harmed me horrifically, they were some of the women that were always out with the girlies and out having fun and out doing all these things with everyone. And then I found out who they really were. And I'm like, oh, you were a little catfishy. You were a little catfishy, a little liesy here and there, a little pretendy. And I also feel like, you know, with social media being the way it is, I love social media. It has connected me to so many beautiful people and I really love it. And I think it's just like really important to remember that you're not seeing the full picture when you are seeing like these beautiful holiday spreads. Like, you don't see any of the crying. You don't see any of the tears. My husband and I have Disney passes. And so we go quite often. It's one of our favorite date days is just going. We don't live that far from Orlando. So we go on Disney dates and go off and just have a good time. And every time we're there, we feel like we're the only ones smiling. Like, hundreds and hundreds of people at the happiest place on earth, and we are like trying to find anybody else who looks like they might even be having like a somewhat enjoyable time. It's hard to find. Start looking for it. Next time you're in a bigger group of people that you're supposed to be somewhere fun, look for the smiles. They're not there. It's wild. And we always say, like, when we're walking, you will hear the soundtrack of, you know, the Disney music, which is so fun, and like the sights and smells is, you know, amazing. But you also hear the soundtrack of just children crying, just crying. There's so many overstimulated like crying children at Disney World, but they never show those pictures in the advertisements for Disney. You'll never see a crying child's face in the advertisement for Disney. So like, just remember that. Just remember, even the advertisements of things, they're definitely trying to paint you a certain story. The first time that I took my kids to Disney World, my daughter was 6, she was 6 and my son was 4, and I had them in, you know, they were tiny people. I'm a tiny human. I'm 5'2", so they were like, I call ourselves the land of the gnomes over here. Like, we're just small humans. And so I was pushing them around in their little strollers or whatever, and we got to the end of the day, and my friend, who is a photographer, was there taking photos of us being there on our first trip. And so she was there with me, and I went to get my daughter an ice cream cone, and I handed her like the biggest Disney ice cream cone. You know, like the swirl is like bigger than her face, and I hand it to her, and she like takes it in her hand and starts eating it. And within probably a minute and a half, she starts sobbing. And when I say sob, it like started with a scream, so much so that my first instinct as a parent turning around was, she's gotten stung by a bee. Like, that to me was the only thing that could have made this child scream quite that loud. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? And my friend decided to continue taking photos. That's why I mentioned it, because I have a photo of this moment. My daughter screaming her head off and her ice cream in her hand, and she says to me, Mom, the ice cream is melting. And I just look at her and I'm like, you're crying because the ice cream is melting? Like, I was so confused. And she's like, the ice cream is melting. And I looked at her and I was like, I laughed a little bit. Like, I was comforting but laughing because I was just like, this is the most ridiculous thing. You're at Disney World and your ice cream's melting. This is why you're bawling your eyes out, child. This was ridiculous to me. But anyway, I took her in my arms, like, it's okay, the ice cream's melting, it's okay, just lick it off your hand. And no, that was not consoling. So, like, I took my crying 6-year-old to the Disney counter. I'm like, hey, hey, our ice cream's melting. Could we get another one? And they're like, sure. And, like, they accommodated. And I'm like, oh my God, but that's it. You know what? If you gotta cry because your ice cream's melting at Disney World, it's okay. It's okay. I just want you to let you know that I'm probably crying too. It's okay. You're not alone. So I hope that you had an amazing, magical Thanksgiving. I hope you've had a magical holiday season. And thank you again for watching and listening. I love that you guys are giving me feedback, that it feels like we're sitting and like chit-chatting like we're best friends, that you can just like grab a little snackety snack and a cute little drink and like we can just chit-chat together, which I love. Please like and subscribe. It means the world to me to know that you're here, and it definitely helps like the algorithm figure out that like, hey, like this is things that people like. So I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for all your comments, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye!